Hello and welcome to Valerication Yoga. I'm Valerie. We are going to be working into a powerful practice. Powerful practice does not necessarily mean that we are flowing and doing these really wild pretzel-y poses. It's more today about how we can find our power in our own practice. But today is going to be about holding poses longer than you might be comfortable doing. So in yoga theory, we want to balance out effort and ease, right? That stira and sukha of balance. But we also, which is sometimes called your edge, find a place that is your edge in a practice. So we want to be able to expand upon where we are right now so that we can grow and develop in our practice and in our lives. So we'll take a few poses today that oftentimes are uncomfortable for my students and see if we can hold them just a little bit longer. So go ahead and do a little warm up, maybe a couple of cat cows, move your body a little bit, and then come on back with me and we'll practice those poses. All right, so the first pose of our practice is going to be crescent warrior, which in essence is pretty simple. We have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, 1 knee bent, 1 leg straight. 2 things going on at the same time, reminding us that our truth could be 2 things going on at the same time. So you want to step your right foot forward, your left foot back. We want those legs to be hip distance, and you want to have a nice soft bend in that front knee. As you're here, hug your belly in just slightly. It's going to feel like the sides of your body are coming in toward the center. You want the shoulders to relax down, and then we add in the arms along our side, sweeping and reaching the arms up and overhead. And as you do so, you'll notice my arms are slightly in front of my head because that's what's best for my shoulders. And in a little bit, if you're following this daily, we're going to do a range of motion in shoulders. You'll get to practice that a bit. But for now, just reaching the arms and seeing what happens. Beautiful. So as you're here, you're holding this pose on this side. You're going to check into how the breath feels in the pose and how the arms feel as they're in extension. Know the movement of your own breath as you're here. And there'll be a place in the practice where something in the body has to hold a little bit more so you can be in this pose a little bit longer. So wait for that shift to happen. Breathe deeply. And then coming out of this pose, we're going to take that big step forward, find your Tadasana, mountain pose, and then we'll go to the other side. Stepping your left foot forward this time, right foot back. All the same rules apply here, but it might feel a little different as we're on the other side. So as you're finding the pose, you're still hugging in a little bit more into the belly, you're breathing deeply, you're connecting. Anytime your mind wants to go somewhere else, bring it back so you can have that connection here with yourself. And if the shoulders start to lift to the ears, know that that's very common in this pose. Gently guide them back down. Then we're going to bring those arms down and step the foot forward. So you could have held that a little longer or a little less, depending on your needs in your practice. We're going to come into a balance for this second one, coming into tree pose. So rooting down with that right foot, which just means that you feel your foot connect and your weight shifts to the right side. Now lift your left foot up, place your foot somewhere along your leg without using another body part to yank it up. And then from here, bring your hands to your heart for this moment. Check to see how the contact feels with the hands together and the foot on the leg. And then keep that connection should you choose to reach the arms up and overhead. So it's as if the hands are still at the heart, even though they've parted. The belly will hug in here. You're finding a gaze that's soft. Jaw is soft. And continue to root down into the foot while you're here, right? This might be the moment you would normally come out of the pose. If you fall out of the pose, come on back into it. We fall out in life too, we come back. Good, and then gently you're bringing your hands back down, you're bringing your foot back down. It's certainly fine to release any tension that may have occurred in through the legs. And then let's try on that other side. So left foot, weight shifting to the left, watch the hip and see if it pops out. Now, if it pops out like this, you know you're leaking energy out of that hip. So you want to hug the hip in a little bit, press down with the foot so it's nice and strong on the outer hip, and then lift your other foot up along your leg. The toe could be down in this. Hug the belly in so we can keep that hip hugged in, and then hands at the heart. Check into those connections towards your center, then stay here or extend. If you extend the arms up, the shoulders stay relaxed down into the body. The hands are at the heart, same thing. Find a place for your gaze. So important in this pose to keep a gaze when you fall out of the pose and when you come back. Beautiful. And then from here, we're placing that foot down, offering that release, right? That's where that sukha comes in. We're releasing a bit here in the body. Beautifully done. All right, we're going to come into another pose. Not a balance, but sometimes feels like one. So this pose is called Warrior One. And Warrior One is tricky because the hips often want to move off the center plane of the body, depending on the position of your foot. So come into Tadasana to start. Your arms are along your side. You're going to turn out your right foot so that it's just enough. Hips can still face forward, even as the ankle turns out. You're going to start bringing more weight into that left foot, and then step your right foot back with the toes turned out and that front knee bent. So as you see, my foot is not at a complete 45-degree angle, but is out just enough for my body. Hips will face forward. So watch that right hip. If it's shifting back, you're kind of between a Warrior One and Two. So we want to see if we can get the hips facing forward. That left knee is bent. The shoulders are framing forward. And then from here, you have options with the hands. You might reach the arms up. You might reach the arms out, making sure the belly is hugged in nicely to support the hips, right? The more we hug in with the belly, the more the hips can face forward. So make sure you're breathing here. I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff in these poses. So you might take one or two things and then come back to the practice and take a couple more things. And give this one another breath. Beautiful. Then bring the arms down and take a step forward. Before we come on to the other side, I want you to take a forward fold because sometimes our back gets a little scrunched in this. So just bring your hands down, your legs to your feet. Let your head hang. Maybe you rock side to side. And then soften the knees and very slowly start to lift your way up. You're ready for the other side with me. So let's go ahead and do that side. So you're going to come into that Tadasana, remember. Turn your left toes out, take that step back. You're stepping back so your heel is in line with your hip and the hips are facing forward. Find your arms and then hug in around the belly. Breathing deeply here. And it can be helpful to press into the outside edge of that left foot. Keeping the hip in line and adding a little more release or stretch around the glutes. And then hands will come down. You know, take that step forward. You can take that fold if you want to here. So short practice today for our powerful practice, but do take those shapes and hold them longer than you think you might hold them. Each one of those shapes are actually very strong midline poses, which means we're square to the front, hugged into the center. And if you continue to take those poses and hold them for a little bit longer, like maybe one more breath than what you would do, you start to gain that resilience in the pose, and then that pose might start to open up for you. So I really hope you enjoyed this practice. Thank you so much for being here.